It's Chit Chat time again here on Who's Views, and look who's joining me in the Chit Chat locker today. Yes, it's Kirsty. Woo! How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm smacked. It's lovely to see you.
You too, darling. You too.
Oh yeah. Well, listen. Thanks for coming on to Chit Chat. This is where we get to have a little bit of a geek out on a one-to-one basis here on the channel, and it's great that Kirsty's joining me this morning. So I'm going to start with the usual question, Kirsty. I'm going to say, how did you find the Doctor?
So, 2005, I'm part of the new Who gang. And it was coming back and getting a whole spiel, a whole talk from my dad saying, like, guys, you need to watch this. This is like my childhood. Your aunties all watched this as well. We've got to do it. He was actually working late that day, so he wasn't around for the actual first transmission of it.
Right.
So he said to our mum, get my brother and I in front of the TV, watch it, and then I'll ask them when I get home. And that's hook, line and sinker after the first one. That was us. And then it became a kind of Saturday night tradition. Because I'm of the day of the iPlayer that you couldn't record it off the telly, that you'd have to wait for iPlayer once. If you missed the episode, catch it on iPlayer. So if we didn't catch it, we'd all huddle around the laptop or the computer and watch it on the iPlayer. And it was like no one speak, and we just had that 45-minute to like 50-minute of family time all together. And that still goes on in my house to this day. And we're like, yeah, I was a diehard Whovian from there. Getting books when I was wee, and like my brother and I had all the kind of small figures as well. We'd collect it, birthday money, Christmas money, any kind of like money we got from family members. We had the sonic screwdrivers. We were diehard. It just went as well because my brother and I, especially, we grew up very, very geeky. That we were both massive Star Wars fans. He was more Lord of the Rings. I was Harry Potter. We had our bits and bobs as well. So we had tons of toys at home, living out like adventures that we'd want. And yeah, that it just hooked, line and sinkered and added on to another thing added on to already stuff that we were obsessed with as children.
What was it about the first episode then, Rose, that caught your imagination?
I found it hilarious, and I still tease him to this day, that in 2005, my dad had a leather jacket like Christopher Eccleston. Oh. And actually, if you put them side by side, I have one as well. Yeah. They do look very similar. And I still wind them up about it to this day. We went to the exhibition last May, and I was like, Dad, you're on the wall. I just loved that this person could magically take you away and you could go on adventures. And I come from an actual kind of performance dance background, so I was really wanting adventures, so that this person could take you away on adventures. And it's a hit or a miss. People don't really like her. Some people do. I loved Rose. I thought seeing the character or seeing her situation through her eyes and how it was wrote that we're on the journey with her. I really loved Rose because she was my first assistant as well, and just watching her adventures and seeing it through her eyes and seeing the worlds that you were going to, I was just drawn into it. And the stories back then, I preferred when they did futuristic episodes than historic episodes, but now older, I like going back to the kind of going through historic episodes and just going into the future. I love that whole sci-fi thing. What's the future going to look like? Any sort of futuristic episode, I'd lap that up and soak it up like a sponge. That really was the thing that got me hook, line and sinker again into Doctor Who. Even through different regenerations as well. I was ready and willing to see.
At the end of the 2005 series, was that a shock as a newbie?
Yeah, because not explained really what was going to happen. Yeah. And that's still watching the Doctor Who Confidential. And as Christopher regenerates into David, they use the Snow Patrol track, Chasing Cars. Anytime I hear that, I'm like, it's the regeneration song.
Oh, you big sap. It's a great song.
They're regenerating.
So you cannot listen to that Snow Patrol album at all, can you?
Feel like they're regenerating.
Oh, I know what I'm going to play you at the various parts now. get an emotional response out of Kirsty. Put Snow Patrol on. Oh, it's great how you came to the show there, and that's what the original 2005 series was meant to do, wasn't it? It was supposed to give something to an existing audience like myself, and then bring new people in like you. So it's great that actually worked, and we know it worked. We know it. I mean, how long was it until you started looking at the original run of Doctor Who?
Pretty much. Once David had been cast in 2006, I remember asking more and us getting told more about, because my dad's favourite one was Tom Baker, so good taste. So he was explaining about what he grew up with, and my brother was like, oh, cool. But I was like wanting to take it a step further and learn about the history of it as well, and how there's different. This isn't the first regeneration that the world has seen. There's been a multitude of ones. So learning more about that, reading old up on books about the history and the production of it as well. Back then, I really, really enjoyed it. So pretty much after Christopher had left and David had the helm, was learning about classic Who from there.
Yeah. It's a totally different setup as well. I mean, you're talking about how you've looked in how they actually produced the show. Completely different world there.
Mm.
It was a lot easier in a sense back then.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. With stuff you hear nowadays as well, it's a simpler but easier, nicer time back then. That it was everyone just had their position and they knew what to do, instead of just drama and kind of political drama in a sense of setting stuff up. And almost nowadays, I kind of see it as school ground drama with producers and whatnot, and just there's overlying people who have to voice their opinion now, instead of just loving the art and just getting the stories out to people.
Yeah. It you can see that when you look at the original. I mean, you're obviously joining us in a lot of the reviews that we're doing as well, and you can see the difference in production and the different take on how to put a show out there, can't you? When you're watching the two, How are you enjoying watching the older stuff though for the review shows that we do?
I love it. I am still obsessed with the Three Doctors. That hill I will die on. That it was blooming awesome. I mean, yeah, it's fun seeing the heart of it, and that there was no drama, there was no people underlying view that they wanted to get out to the public. And again, that sense of adventure, that sense of excitement, and it was a madman in a box ready to go and save the world and see new places and travel. And I just love that. Just the essence and the heart you can see is still there, and sometimes is missing nowadays.
Oh, it was definitely there through 26 years of production. Yeah. It was consistent. It really was. And I get what you're saying about sometimes it can be missed today, and that's something we talk about in the review show, isn't it? I mean, it's great as well that we get a lot of our viewers here and on Who Views suggesting stories for you to go and watch.
I love that. I've got a list of things to buy and purchase to watch.
Oh, you're going to be scared.
Target HMV and get there. Yeah, I love it. Keep them coming.
Yeah. I mean, as she says, keep it coming. If there are any stories you would recommend that Kirsty goes back and watch from the original run, pop them down in the comments box, because she will see them. Because we're keeping her busy on this channel as well. Giving her a list of stuff. Oh, this is what we're going to be reviewing over the next 6-7 months. But it's all good though, isn't it? It's really great that you're so passionate about it.
I love it.
Yeah.
And that's what missing nowadays with different fandoms and different groups. The love is missing. It's more hate right now. That people are coming from, like, my perspective, going to look at classic Who, or they're they're picking up Lord of the Rings for the first time, or they're picking up a Harry Potter book, or they're picking up their first comic, and because they've not doing the voice what people want to hear nowadays, there's more hate than there is love. Then well done, or that's amazing, yet you've picked up your first comic, or you've picked up your first kind of Fifth Doctor story, and you want to explore more. Congratulations, here's like, what did you enjoy about it, what did you not enjoy about it, here's a list, or this is maybe a preference that you might enjoy to explore more into worlds. And that's what I really miss, and I think there should be more of it. So that's why I absolutely love when people are like, yeah, try this, try this, try this. And I've got a list already wrote down of stuff that I need to try, and then I can report back to you.
Have you got access to the iPlayer?
No, I'm one of these people that said sayonara to the iPlayer. So yeah. I'm also a big fan of getting DVDs.
Oh, yeah.
During the pandemic, that was beginning to get a bit of an addiction. That just getting DVDs, I prefer having the hard copy, how it should be, having that. It's like picking up a good book as well. The adventures are in that. So yeah, it's a bit of a, both my partner and I, we are trying not to, we're on an HMV ban right now. Because we know if we go past, we're just going to go in and we're going to spend lots of money.
But you know, the brilliant thing, Kirsty, as well, is that with the original series as well, a lot of the DVDs are now around about £5.
Yeah.
You know,
so it's a brilliant thing.
Yeah,
just taking the whole shop away with me.
Yeah, just go in and say, right, just that
that's
shop.
What we get up.
All that shelf. But hours and hours of superb for you. Yeah. So
yeah.
When we're onto the subject of merchandise now, are you collecting merchandise?
I did back then. My brother and I have both been saying as well, if we were to go up to the attic, all of it's still there. So I've got figures more from New Who, and I still have Christopher's sonic screwdriver. So we're in the process right now of getting and going into a new flat very soon. So once I know where it is and it's all sorted, that I'll be get up into the attic for me. Can I get my toys back?
And take them home.
Yeah, I want my toys back. Because right now, as well, during the pandemic, I kind of merchandise, but I started to collect comics more.
Oh yeah, what's up?
I love. I'm a Marvel ride or die Marvel girl. So my favorite Marvel character is Black Widow and Daredevil. So I have a lot of kind of proper old school comics from them as well. None of this new stuff nowadays.
Yeah.
Old school comics. I've got a lot of Punisher as well. A bit of X-Men now as well. So again, adding Doctor Who onto it was a breeze. Adding on to some, I used to play Storm and Jubilee in the back garden, and I had all my lightsabers and wanted to be Princess Leia as well as a kid. So I was well accustomed to it. So once we move, I'll be asking to get my Doctor Who stuff back as well, and get my figures and get them all boxed up and nicely put. Because we know as well that if we moved into somewhere even bigger, that we'd start collecting hot toys as well, and that would be a dangerous path that I would go down and have all the cabinets as well. So I have to pick and choose my battles of what I'm going to get.
I don't know what you mean.
I
didn't know.
Because I would end up the whole house.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know that you were into all the comics and stuff like that, and that's brilliant. It's fantastic. And you know, again, when the American comic industry, especially, is in so much trouble, as we know, it's good that back and looking at the old. It's all the older stuff, isn't it? That's more popular.
Yeah, and that's again getting DVDs. I prefer to go, instead of you're going into the big kind of bookshops that are up and down the UK. Going into a backstreet comics store, there's a few brilliant ones locally to me, and just supporting local.
Yeah.
And it's where, again, you see the fandom and the love for the art and the love for the projects, and it's supporting local businesses as well to keep the stories alive, which I love. So that was getting a bad habit of the DVDs, and the floppies were.
There we go. Oh, right. Okay, Gus, I lost you there for a second. Can you say that again?
So supporting local, going into your old comic book stores and getting, it's the same with picking up a DVD and picking up a book. It's supporting local, and it's just keeping the stories and the business alive. And a lot of the kind of independent comic stores are losing their shops and their livelihoods.
They are, yeah.
Because people are ordering stuff online, or they're going into the big bookstores, which is fine, which is cool. But these guys, some of them have been around for years, and they're already going. And yeah, it's just keeping the merchandise and the love alive, which I really love and support. And you should do that. Everyone should do that.
Totally agree with you. Totally agree. I mean, there's nothing more magical than finding ye oldie bookshop or comic shop, and here in the United Kingdom as well, the two sometimes clash together, don't they? You can find some really old books, and I'm not talking about the thousands of charity shops that have grown up over the last 10 years within the United Kingdom. I'm speaking proper bookshops, and you don't know what you're going to find, and it's magical. You know, I love the stories where you hear some people have gone into one of these antiquarian, we call them, bookshops, and they found a range of Target books from the 70s and 80s, and they've just got and they've bought them all, you know, and it's so exciting about that. But you're absolutely right. It's a shame that all these people have had these businesses for years and years and years. And this is the other thing, isn't it, about the whole industries, the show business industry, and where they are today, is that they are pushing all these messages and all these agendas, but actually there's a knock-on effect to people that have set up businesses around the product, around the program, around the movie, whatever it's going to be, where they are losing customers because we're not as interested in what the show is about or the merchandise that's related to it.
Oh, definitely. And it's heartbreaking to see that, especially over in the States, that there's comic book stores that have been around 60s, 70s, 80s, and they were booming and it was all good. And because of this, no one's interested anymore, and they're just losing their livelihood that they've had longer than some of these people that are destroying it have been alive.
It's a
and
good
it is
point.
just heartbreaking that we should really, hopefully one day there's just a blip and it all goes back to sort of a change, that stories can be wrote, that you can have your strong female character, you can have your person of color, you can have your person of this or that, and you see that it's this normal life, that they will go through struggles, they will go through things, and not everyone's just fabulous and the bestest thing ever. And that's the adventure of reading stories or watching programs, that you see the struggle, and it's not always I identify or I see myself in this person. You don't need to see yourself in a story.
Yeah,
it's entertainment. It's made to take you somewhere. You can maybe see in a character that I'd like to maybe be a bit more of, like, bravery. I'd like to be a bit more like that, or just strength. But having a character wrote just so you can be like, I see myself, is just ridiculous, and it's just not fair on the wee man in the wee business that has been happily plodding along for years, and it's just taken away because of something that's probably we're not going to be talking about in 10 years' time, and it'll be, no one's going to be wanting to rerun or Doctor Who. No one's really going to be chomping at the bit on episodes, but we're still talking about episodes that were going on even before I was born. So it needs to rechange someday. It does.
I hope you're right, because where I stand personally at the moment, I don't see an end to all this, and there's various people around me saying the tide is churning, that, you know, and it is coming. I don't see it, so it's nice to be told that it's coming up. But I do hope you're right. I hope that this whole nonsense does disappear, because it's enforced representation on everything, isn't it? It's enforcing material, and it's just it's so tiresome. We're in what, year 5 or 6 of this nonsense?
Yeah.
And businesses are not taking any notice of the accountants for once when they come around and the accountant comes along saying you're about to go bust. They don't care. They just carry on. They carry on. I mean, look at Disney. You know, it's just carrying on,
Oh,
carrying on. The comic industry you're talking about, that is really heartbreaking to hear, that those beautiful stories, as you're saying, proper stories that I got in the 70s and 80s when I was a kid through those stories, are no longer the same.
yeah, it is. It's heartbreaking, and right now, comic wise, I'm waiting on a few independent artists' actual work as well, instead of buying from Marvel or DC nowadays, just because their stories just don't light my fire.
Yeah.
So buying from, there's actually certain artists as well that, because they don't believe in the message that they want the company to have, and they are happily just beating to their own drum, they're not harming anyone. They get fired. So there's a
Yeah.
couple of artists that just went, well, do you know what? Screw you. I'm just going to actually do my own work. And they banked a lot of their own money. They've crowdfunded, they've sourced, and they're doing their own thing. And they're hitting targets. Yeah, they're hitting targets more than what Marvel and DC or any of them are doing nowadays. And it's just amazing. We need more of that. That is just, you know what? I'm just going to make my own thing, um, and just go from there.
Yeah.
There's a program in particular as well that I love right now called The Orville, and
Oh yeah.
it was Seth MacFarlane
Yeah.
obsessed. We loved the first 2 series, and he was a ride or die as well, Star Trek fan, and you can look on YouTube and whatnot of him as a teenager or as a young adult filming his own version of Star Trek. And then he's now got to live his dreams, and he's writing the most stunning episodes where one episode you're going to be bawling your eyes out, 1 minute you're going to be laughing your head off. And we just miss that nowadays, that like old school Star Trek and old like classic Doctor Who as well, that you watch an episode and it makes you think instead of getting bashed on the head as well, that this strong person is the best, instead of this strong person is now going to have to go through some tough times. If you were in their shoes, what would you do? And it makes you ponder that it would be maybe broadcast on a Saturday night, and then you're still thinking about it Tuesday, Wednesday when you're washing the dishes or making your dinner. Going, actually, that story really impacted me. What would I do? Especially with the 60th anniversary episodes that we've just had, with the character of Rose Noble, and the journey that and the transition that the actor and the character and they have gone through. There was an episode of the Orville which, if Russell had wrote it that way, we would have been having different conversations than what we did in the anniversary. That it was that it's an impactful thing on someone who feels like that, and it can be tender, they can be angry. It's not just fabulous, it's just happened overnight. And watching that grow was a beautiful episode. I really suggest that everyone should do the Orville season 3 as well. I'll give you a bucket list of things to watch. But it was really impactful. That's what we're missing for stories nowadays. It really still sits with me that whole.
Yep.
It's impactful, and we need stories like that. Seth should just write the new series of Doctor Who, really. That we miss those stories again, and we miss that you'd be talking about it, water cooler style stories that you'd go to work on the Monday as well, and then you'd be talking to someone, oh, did you watch that on Saturday night? And then you'd get into a big thing about it, instead of just you can be quite, as someone who is a bit geeky, a bit nerdy, you can be quite worried nowadays to actually say to someone, I enjoy this, or I didn't like it, because you're not sure how someone is going to take it.
Yeah. I know what you mean there. You're frightened to an extent of getting into the conversation, aren't you?
Yeah, and especially with my job, I'm a tour guide and I specialise in like Harry Potter. That a lot of them don't actually, the guests that we've had, they don't actually realise some of the stuff that she's gone through, and that it angers me as well that what she said, or some of the stuff she said, I sort of get with, but maybe could have been wrote in a different way. That
We're
she's
talking about
passionate
J.K.
about
Rowling
women's
here.
rights.
We need to just make that
Yeah,
clear. We're
she's
talking
past.
about
Sorry,
J.K. Rowling here. But
talking about
to be honest,
J.K. Rowling. She's
yeah,
Mhm.
I've been watching that since the very beginning. She said nothing that's any sort of phobe or ist or ot
Yeah,
statement at all. And she's a very eloquent writer, and she's to the
uh-huh,
point as is her right on how she wants to do that. But there was nothing at all. It's just been, as far as I'm concerned, a massive bandwagon exercise because somebody cried wolf and everybody else has
yeah,
followed, and it's utter nonsense. Prove to me where she said anything that is a phobic or an ot or it's just fantasy here because people can't be bothered these days doing the research.
It's as well. What angered me was with the anniversary specials, and that she was banned from that. And it's like, don't bite the hand that fed you. You would not be who you are nowadays without this woman and her books.
Yeah.
And it's that just angers me. And with what we have to talk about in our tours, that this woman never had a silver spoon or was handed anything on a plate. She has seen through. She's been beyond the breadline. She's had rubbish and horrific relationships, and she's just very passionate. As you're right, she's very blunt. I agree. Like, she's never said anything that was wrong or an ist or a phobe. She was just passionate and wanted to. She is. We should all look up to her or be a bit more like her at times. That not being afraid to be like, this is how I feel. I've been biting my tongue on this. We should all kind of just have a conversation. And
It was common sense, wasn't it? It was common
yeah,
sense, which common sense isn't allowed anymore. But she was talking common sense.
Yeah, it's banned. Common sense is banned nowadays, and it's just it's stupid. And many people, they don't realise when they know a little bit, and they'll try and kind of coach me into having a conversation about it. I try and remain as neutral as possible because I'm on the job. But and then people go, "Oh, okay, she was just wanting to express something that we're all a bit too afraid to say right now, and we should just be a bit more like Joanne nowadays." Because with the TV show that will be happening next year, she's going to be an executive producer on that. But there's already talks. Let's boycott it because she's going to be involved in it, and we want to laser off our tattoos that we got. We want to just it's dumb, and it's the thing is, like, I'm taking tours almost 5-6 I'm there 5 or 6 days a week, taking multiple to one tour a day to multiple ones, and I'm meeting all walks of life, different backgrounds, different countries, different having to approach how I speak to them through language, and they're just there for the love of the story that this woman brought to their lives.
Yeah, and that was the important thing, wasn't it, Kirsty? When you look at the 7 books, it's a story. You know, there's hard. I can't remember because I read them years ago when they first came out. Of course, like you, I love Harry Potter. I am a fan. I love the books. I love the films. Can't wait for the forthcoming TV series. I'm very excited about it. But from what I remember in the books, it was just story. There was no agenda as such. There wasn't really overt messages. There were messages that, you know, young people, you know, people can get on together. There was good and bad, but that's about it, wasn't it, really? So for these people to come across again, it's jumping on something. It's not even in production properly yet. Well, they are, but you know what I mean. It's not in the public domain.
Yeah.
So this is typical of fandom, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's the thing. The ones who are screaming and shouting, going, "I'm going to get my tattoos removed," or "We're going to boycott that." You really wouldn't class them as fans. Like, with messages in the books, I had a really, as I encourage in my tours that it's 2 hours and we're just going to nerd out. You want to talk about different franchises as well and IPs? We're just going to nerd out and we're just going to express our love for Harry Potter, and thanks to her for creating these books that developed onto more things. And yeah, it's I had a really profound and beautiful conversation with a teenage boy actually on the tour, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, I see the books as the 7 stages of grief."
Wow.
And then I was like, "Hold on, wait a minute." And then he like pulled it through, and I was actually, yeah, you can see like the pain, the acceptance, and just the anger and the grief that Harry goes through on all through 7, and all the rubbish that's thrown at him. The darkness does come to the light, and it all does get better. And I was like, I see that. So it's brilliant having actual fans on these tours that sometimes you're like, okay, I have to actually be in charge now, because it's great just to have a discussion with them. And yeah, I'm like, we better actually talk about what's on the program list, because we're just enjoying just being nerds and just what people are missing. Again, the expression and the love of like Harry Potter or Doctor Who or Marvel or things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's such a shame though that these people that have taken control of the various franchises, to you want for a better word, that we've all known and loved and grown up with, they've taken control and they've divided the fandoms, and a lot of the time it's done deliberately because they have to be, or they want to be focused too much, in my opinion, on all this diversity and inclusion and representation stuff. I mean, I've always said, and I can't stand all this representation stuff enforced into science fiction now, because I just think it takes away the science fiction. And I often quote, as you may know, that in our worlds, if you like, we've been representative and we've been tolerant and we've been diverse forever. Because there's been aliens around us, there's been wizards around us, there's been people, and everybody's been. So to see the real world, though, pushed into it to that extent, though, has made us more aware of the differences of each other.
Yeah. And you grow up and you see all walks of life, and you just don't bat an eyelid, especially with nowadays with representation. My best friend is part of the LGBTQ community, and she's like, I am sick of me being a fashion trend.
Oh, that's part of the reason. Is your friend part of the LGBTQ community or LGB community?
LGB community. And she's just like, I'm just sick of being used as a fashion trend, and me just loving who I love is not a tick boxing exercise, and getting asked Pride Month about what's the best flag for social media. And she's like, well, with her job, she's like, well, let's first solve that there's people in countries that can't really express their true, who they really want to love. Let's tackle that first before we start thinking about social media. That she's just up to here with it. And yeah, it's impacting that. It's impacting stories that they're just thinking about. Going to, if they're going to go down stories like that about who you love and who you are, let's not think about parading it like a zoo. Let's make these important stories, make your own stories and help people that are in situations that they can't be their true self because of maybe religious or where they are, or they're going to be afraid they can't come out yet, or they can't be near someone. Make those stories, make it profound, make it important for those people, instead of people who already know who they are and they're getting bashed over their head because they're not the right type of lesbian nowadays. Or
Would you say though, Kirsty, everything you've just said there? Would you say though that those sort of shows, they work on their own? And Russell himself has proved that, with various shows,
Yeah.
including the fairly recent "It's a Sin" and all that. And he's proved
Yeah.
that there. What is your opinion about it being enforced into something like Doctor Who?
If it's done, not like it's discreet or anything, but if it's done correctly, that you're not watching something that you're getting bashed over the head. So the Rosa Parks episode, I know you won't have seen it, but the Rosa
No.
Parks episodes in Jodie's Run, you could have done an amazing message because one of the companions was a coloured man. But instead, we were bashed over the head for being a colour and how society is still nowadays. And instead of writing it that it would make you think about back then or certain situations nowadays, instead it was just an episode at the end that it looked like a class presentation of the Doctor explaining what happened. Yeah. And at that point I was like, nah, get in the bin, have a day off. Just go run and jump. And it's kind of the thing that you could have, and hopefully this is just a blip in the sand and we'll see the new series and there'll be episodes where there'll be topics that he's wanting to maybe incorporate and it's being brought in and it's not bashed over the heads, and hopefully it will make you think and the sci-fi will come back in again. It's like Captain Jack back in the day. He is a character but that would tap anything with a pulse, and that went over my head as a kid. And that was just Captain Jack. He liked guys, girls, aliens, whatever. It's stuff like that. It just goes over your head, and you just accept it instead of, oh, here we go, there's another message. We should just go back to stuff like that. That is just, all right, cool. That's them. That's how it is. Cool, fine, whatever.
Do you think he's going to do that though? Do you honestly believe he's going to do that?
I always try to see the best out of people, and I hope he does, but I really, after the Christmas and the 60th anniversaries, I'm not hopeful. And I know that we're going to review stuff and I'm just going to be screaming to the high heavens, get me back on Classic Who, give me the list. But I try and see the best out of people, and I try and sometimes give too much hope in someone, and I just hope it does come and they get that glory. And because I got really excited when it was announced that he was coming back, I was like, yeah, let's go. Childhood 2.0, we're getting wicked stories again by a wicked showrunner. But I wasn't left with a good taste in my mouth with the anniversary and with the special. So I really hope that was just a blip in the sand, maybe a rush and too many voices getting back on it, and hopefully he just takes it like a duck to water with the new series and we'll all be pleasantly surprised.
Do you know what? I'm now looking forward to getting you on the review shows for the next series and seeing what you to see what you say. At least that's something to look forward to with this next series for me. Listen to what other people think of it, because I'm dreading it.
You're just going to play Snow Patrol every time. It was so bad.
Oh no, that's terrible. Listen, going back to Harry Potter for a bit, because you are, we've established obviously you're a Harry Potter fan. Are you looking forward to the new series? Because there's 10 years of it coming.
Again, I always like to ask, even if I have 20 people or I have a private tour, how do you feel about it?
Yeah.
And I've got lots of yes, I'm so excited. I've got lots of I'll see the first episode and see what's cracking, and a lot of like, nah, let's just leave it how it is.
Really?
The saving grace for me is that she's going to be an executive producer, and knowing the history about when it came to the movies, that she was again a very powerful woman, knowing what she wanted and who she wanted, that she's going to have a big say. And still, even more known than she was when the movies were coming out. She's going to be like, I will take this away faster than you can say a golden snitch. I That's my saving grace, and I hope with HBO Max that usually they order like 7, 10, 12 episodes, and we're going to get an hour and a bit each of them, or even an hour, that they'll delve more into stuff that they left into the movies, and we'll see more, and they'll get to have a bit more fun with.
Oh, right. I lost you again there, Kirsty. Are you living in Hogwarts?
Yeah. The Dementors keep sucking my Wi-Fi. Dementors gets on a old Wi-Fi box.
Dementors in the Wi-Fi box.
Yeah.
So you were saying there about the TV series, though. So go ahead.
I'm just hoping that she still is going to remain as passionate and as kind of powerful. That's how a powerful woman. She knows what she wants. That if they start going off the American route, or they want to have this or that she'll just be like, I can take this away faster than you can say snitch.
I hope
and
so.
That it can just be taken away. Because I know right now they're on the hunt casting for Harry, for Hagrid, and there's
I'm available for Harry.
Yeah, I'm available for Hagrid. There was a casting list for. There was like a casting for a character that no one really knows yet. So I'm hoping that it was just a kind of a hidden one, that maybe how they did with like companions, that you go for an addition and it's a bit of an anagram, that it was released to the public.
Oh, maybe. I mean, I find this whole exciting thing about this. I mean, I trust J.K. Rowling to do what she did with the film, to produce a very good series. But what I'm more excited about when it comes to the series is, I've had a friend of mine who saw the films as they were coming out, which since then she's had kids. And they're now at the point where they've asked to start being read The Philosopher's Stone. And I think she's now just gotten on to Chamber of Secrets. And she said to me, this didn't happen in the film. This wasn't in the film. I said, yes, there's lots more that they cut out of the books as you go through. Because some of the books get thicker and thicker, which scared the life out of her, by the way. I've got to read them. Because you know what kids are like.
Yep.
And look, there's so much in the books. There's characters you don't see. There's ghosts you don't see. All these situations which lead perfectly from A to B to C in the books. But they had to cut out because of time in the film. And I'm really looking forward to seeing if she can get as much of that back, because we've got 10 hours per season, because there's 10 episodes per series, and so now I'm looking forward to seeing how much she can bring back into it to make it flow in a totally different way to the films.
I'm on that ship as well, that hopefully that she'll be ready and has got everything planned out and just handing over and going, yeah, this is what we're going to play with, and we're justice for Peeves, he should be in it. But
yes, that's a cracking part for a talented actor as well, isn't it, Peeves?
Because he was going to be in the movie, but they just ran out of time. Yeah, he was going to be in it. They ran out of time. He actually told his kids, there's a story that he didn't tell his kids. They went to the premiere and they're like, Dad, who did you play? And he was like, I was Hagrid. So he just let that pass. He was like, so yeah, I'm just hoping that it kind of, they'll bring people back, and it'll I'm hoping, I'm more optimistic about this than I am for New Who.
Oh, I am as well. I'm actually more
crossed.
looking forward to the Harry Potter series, if I'm honest, than I am any new Doctor Who. And you and I are going to be reviewing the Harry Potter things, hopefully, if we're all still here, when it starts. I'm really looking forward to looking at that. That's going to be quite good, isn't it? Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well,
what house are you?
What house am I? Oh, what house am I?
What house are you?
Yeah. When you got that thing years ago, it put me in Gryffindor. Yeah.
Oh, I'm Slytherin.
Yeah. My best mate's Slytherin as well, and he's very proud of it.
Yeah.
Slytherin tend to have a bit more fun, I think.
So am I.
That's controversial, isn't it? Well, listen, Kirsty. I think what we'll do is we are. Thank you so much for watching us on this edition of Chit Chat. Yeah, Kirsty's having a few technical problems because she does live in Hogwarts and the reception is awful up there. But thanks for bearing with us. We're gonna wind up now. Kirsty, thank you so much for joining me on Chit Chat. It's lovely to chat with you. I'm looking forward to seeing what you think of more of the original Doctor Who's as we keep going on through our reviews. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you think about it all, and from a fresh pair of eyes, really.
So am I. Can't wait. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Yes. So, listen. Thanks for watching this. Thanks for putting up with us as we go through the technical issues here. But do please like the video. Please also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This has been Chit Chat with Kirsty, and we have to know a little bit more about Kirsty. I'm sure she'll be back on very, very soon as well. So until we see you again, say goodbye, Kirsty.
Bye. Au revoir.
Bye, everybody. Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye. Bye.